Good afternoon, radio listeners. Welcome once again to our program, Homeland Defense Live, our weekly program here on Radio Station, in which we bring you issues of interest to the community of Statia. I'm Glenn Schmidt here with you again today, and we want to extend a welcome to all our listeners locally, those in the region, and those following us further away via the World Wide Web. Welcome to our program today, Sunday, October 27, sunny day here on Statia. And today we will look again at some of the issues that are going on in Statia mainly, but also in the surrounding islands that may have some influence and effect on us here as well. Quite a lot in the news this week. Remember, you can call us on 318-2722-2722 if you want to ask a question or give a comment, or you have a particular issue you would like to bring forward. Feel free to call us 318-2722, or you can send me your text message on 319-5453. 319-5453. And we want to start off today extending some condolences to the family and friends of Anna Montoro Fitzgerald Remnarine, which are known on the island as Buka Ramparsat, who was originally from St. Kitts. He was buried here in Statia on Friday. And we want to extend sympathies to his loved ones, his family, and friends that are left to mourn his loss. So what's in the news this week? Well, here in Statia we had we had a verdict in a court case in the court of law. We will talk about that. Statia Island has new softball champions. The social housing renovation project in Golden Rock kicked off this past week. And overseas developments in St. Martin. Theo Heiliger has been in jail, in court twice this week. We also see another St. Martin politician was arrested this week along with an assistant of his. And we hear news that the new St. Martin Hospital is expected to start in November. Stinapper collects a large amount of waste here at Zeelandia Beach and in the harbour area. And we also see that on Wednesday, the Island Council of Saba paid tribute to its former member, Mr. Ishmael Livingstone, in a public meeting, who died about a week ago. And also interesting in the news this week, former Central Bank of the Netherlands Antilles President Emsley Trump must collect 616,000 guilders to cover his legal fees is the verdict of the High Court. Prosecutor's office was ordered to pay Trump this amount of money, 600,000 guilders, for his legal fees for a case that has been going on for several years now, that ended his career as president of the Antillean Central Bank. So we'll see if we can get through most of these items today. First of all, a court case that was brought by the former deposed government in Statia. The 5 members of that coalition, which is the Island Council members, Van Putten, Clyde Van Putten, Richelene Leerdam, and Ruben Merkman, and the commissioners, Charles Woodley and Derek Simmons. They brought a court case some time ago after the Dutch intervention, claiming, among other things, wants in the court to declare the intervention illegal, and also to claim their salaries, that they were supposed to continue paid their salaries, their wages, and cancellation of the unlawful conduct of the state, according to the news report. Well, they argue that the state committed a coup d'etat with a temporary law and acted in violation of national and international law, including the United Nations Charter. In the opinion of the court, however, there was gross administrative neglect and intimidation with Stacia's government apparatus within Stacia's government apparatus, and the state was therefore obligated to act according to the judge. Furthermore, the court considered that it has been established that the population of Stacia as part of the Netherlands Antilles exercise its right of self-determination as enshrined in the UN charters, and also with Stacia becoming part of the Netherlands Antilles in 1954. However, according to the judge, the population of Stacia has retained its right to self-determination even after integration in the Netherlands Antilles of the Netherlands Antilles in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The islands has exerted its right in 2005-2006, which resulted in the Executive Council and the Island Council accepting Stacia's new status as a public entity of the Netherlands in September 2010. But of course, according to the court, he emphatically stated that the right of self-determination continues to belong to the people of Stacia. So this was a culmination. Well, it's not culmination. It says here that all claims of the 5 plaintiffs, including Van Padden's, were rejected. They have already indicated that they will file an appeal and that they will go to the highest international bodies if necessary. Okay, so this is a court case stemming from the takeover of the Dutch government in February 2018, when both the Island Council and the Executive Council were put aside in favor of a Dutch appointed administration, and so the 3 Island Council members and the 2 commissioners at the time, they filed this court case, first of all to declare the intervention illegal and unlawful, and secondly for the judge to declare that they were wronged, especially the commissioners then, that they could continue collecting wages. Well, the case has been dismissed by this judge at least. Of course, they have the opportunity to still appeal, and the newspaper report says they intend to appeal the case. So this is not over. I guess we'll hear about it again. But so far, they have lost this round. Well, of course, the intervention in February 2018, well, lots of opinions have been expressed about it on both sides, and the continues to be an issue of disagreement, I'm sure, within the community here, with some supporting the action and others not, and I guess it will not be resolved any time soon. And of course, getting a court to say anything other than what the Dutch government and the parliament, who almost, I think, unanimously supported the intervention. Well, it's not expected that any court will be willing to go against that. But we will see in the future. You got to keep trying in the courts of law and in the international bodies, and yeah, who knows? You might have success sometime in the future. In other news in Stacia, social housing renovation kicks off in Golden Rock. Yeah, so this has been a talk for a long time, the need for Golden Rock houses to be renovated, to be repaired. You know, there's always a lot of complaints. Residents often complain about the state of the houses and what needs to be done there. I'm sure the Housing Foundation, who manages these homes, they do some repairs from time to time when there are urgent situations, They go and they fix certain things in the homes um, in order to relieve the problems that residents are facing. But there is always talk of the need of a general, upgrading of the homes. The homes, of course, went through some upgrading in the past. We know after a hurricane some years ago damaged quite a few of the homes. A lot of homes got new roofs. Sometime after that, I think also practically in all the homes, the windows were renewed. So again, just dealing with urgent needs at the moment to solve problems that residents are encountering. But the need was always felt for an urgent, total, remodeling of the homes, modernization of the homes. Many of these homes are built, from in the early to mid 70s, so many of them are well over 40 years old. And since that time, they have not had any fundamental remodeling or modernization. So that is the intention now, if all goes according to plan. So the idea is what they started this week. One home was selected right across from the Housing Foundation office. One home was selected there to undergo the first renovation as a model renovation. So they will do a complete renovation there, and then all the inhabitants and the public, I guess, will be able to see the results of that renovation, and there will be then an evaluation, and based on the evaluation, if everybody is happy with the results, or maybe they might suggest adjustments or changes, then all the other homes will be remodeled accordingly. So they will be done in batches, and the residents will be put in other homes while those homes are remodeled, and then after that they will be able to go back to their original homes. So I haven't seen any drawings what the homes will look like. Of course, they are dealing mostly with the inside of the homes. I think the fencing is not part of the project, so the fencing for now at least should will probably remain as it is, because I think the fencing too is an issue that needs to be dealt with in Golden Rock. Lots of the areas needs new fencing. Consideration should also be given for parking vehicles off the road. At least one vehicle will be parked off the road. But the fencing also needs to be looked at least sometime in the future. But at least it's a good beginning. Good to hear that at least something is being done to get a fundamental remodeling, a modernization of the homes that will make, hopefully, the tenants feel a lot more positive in their homes, and that they do not have to be confronted with lots of the issues they are confronted with now. Well, I don't think they are much about leaks and so on, but issues like kitchen cabinets that are rotten, and bathroom facilities perhaps that are old and outdated, and also the airing of the homes, the windows and doors, what model windows will be used to make the interior more light, better air. I hope they also put what you call these things, screens on the windows of the homes against mosquitoes and flies, which are a big problem also in the Golden Rock area. So I hope the windows will also, and doors will also get screens against mosquitoes and flies, and that will save tenants a lot of money on buying flit during the year. So I hope that is also being considered. So anyway, good news for the tenants. Of course, this project is being carried out in cooperation with the Dutch housing corporation Woonlini, and Woonlini itself, of course, has been an issue of much discussion and debate and disagreement over the years, going back the last 10-15 years, when they were supposed to already be involved, and they were involved to a degree during those years, but there was not much agreement as to the role Woonlini should play. But now under the new Dutch regime, it seems that they are now fully back into the housing foundation. We know that in Saba, they have taken a major role in managing and the housing foundation over there. So it's to wait and see. We do not have, some agreement was signed with them some time ago. Don't know exactly what the details of the agreement is, but as to how much involvement Woonlini is going to have in the day-to-day running of the foundation. The monies, originally the idea was that Woonlini itself would invest money in the housing stock here in Statia. I don't think that is the case right now, because I think most of this renovation is being financed by the Dutch ministry. But if there are plans for also to build more social housing in the island, because there is a need for more social housing, there's a backlog, a waiting list of people who want a house, social housing, and in that respect, you know, Woonlini is an organization that has financing. So if they decide in the future situation to invest money in housing, to actually build new houses here in Statia, you know, then they can get more involved in the ownership and management of homes here in Statia. Good afternoon, caller.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm hearing a lot of progress on paper, but I'm not seeing anything. What about the roads? I'm hearing nothing about the roads. Well, what's going on? Can you elaborate on that, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the roads, we've talked a lot about roads in the past months. Well, we know there have been one or two road projects, I think 2 road projects specifically, that have been approved by this present administration. It is here, the Dutch administration. That is the Cherry Tree Road project. We know about that, and also a new road project in James. Not only the new road, but also fixing the James Road project. Those 2 projects have been given out to local contractors to be carried out. Good afternoon, caller.
Yes, Mr. Smith, it's me again.
Yes.
For the past years now, since I think the Dutch take over, I've noticed that only certain roads are being fixed. What about the roads in Statia? Not just 1 or 2 projects, because you know you're paying a lot of taxes or road tax, and you're not seeing anything. This is what I'm speaking about. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I was coming to that. I was mentioning, first of all, the 2 projects that we know were approved, and we know with those 2 projects there seems to be some hold up. You know, the Cherry Tree Road project we know is held up for whatever reason, and also the James project hasn't quite started yet. Well, like I said, those are the 2 projects that we know were approved. Of course, those are just 2 roads, basically, and there are a lot of roads still in Statia that need to get done. Well, we've talked about this a lot. What we hear from the government administration right now is that there is no money approved yet for tackling all the other roads on the island. Right now they are still talking about a $6 million amount that they had for some years. Since before the Dutch takeover, this money was there. But since then, no new money basically has been approved for roads. But I hear from Mr. Franco and Stahurst, Franco mostly, talking that the other roads are soon going to be tackled, yeah, and there are projects being prepared for other roads as well. I think this past week I also heard a representative of the planning bureau on radio talking about roads, and he also mentioned, that all of these roads are in the planning, for the Mansion Road, the road going all the way over to Lynch, where the schools are. So all these roads, well, we know the roads need to be fixed. I mean, there is a complete plan to fix all the roads in Station. But the way the Dutch is dealing with this is they are doing it as usual, piecemeal. They give you a few million or two, a few million now to do some, and then in the next few years they will approve another few million to do some more. Rather than say, we're going to approve $50 million to do all the roads in Station. Their way of doing things is they give you piece at a time every few years. But to come to every decision every time they approve some, it's a couple of years in between that it passes. Yeah, so it's going to take, I've said many times, for the next 10, 15 years, we're going to be talking about roads here in Station because of the way they are approaching the whole financing. We also heard a lot that some of the roads, they don't only want to fix, they also want to, say, widen some of the roads. Yeah, and in order to widen some of the roads, they need to acquire land from landowners. So that process too, takes some time.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Go ahead, good afternoon, I'm hearing you.
Oi. Hello.
Go ahead, I'm hearing you.
Hello.
Well, technician, something wrong? Why the gentleman is not hearing us?
Maybe on his side.
Okay, caller, I'm hearing you. Apparently you're not hearing me, so
Hello.
try call again. Yeah, so something gone wrong there. So caller, try call again. I'm hearing you, and for some reason it seems you're not hearing me. Good afternoon, caller. Good afternoon, caller.
Huh? But I can't hear him.
Go ahead.
My radio is working good, man. I can't hear him.
Your radio working good. I need to get a new radio. Get your radio
Yes.
fixed. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
The problem is the canal was here from Holland.
Yes.
Nobody went to explain him well. The grievance is this, you should do this, you should. Nobody said nothing. The only man talked in Canwell village was Roy. He represented the people, not other politicians wasn't there.
And what did Roy say?
Go stick was there, he said nothing. Now the man gone back, everybody wondering how they do roads, how they do that. The man was there, talk to the man. All got a lot of coward politicians here. We send letter this, we send letter that. The man was there, talk to the man.
So you think Knopps don't know about the roads?
Yes, we know about it, but confront him with it.
Okay.
That is duty as a leader. The man come from Holland, go and talk to him. So when election time comes, they come back here to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
That is the problem. But I sent a letter to him. One letter you was sent to him, go to the man personal and talk.
Okay.
You get where I'm coming from?
Yes, I hear what you're saying.
What? Okay, that point where you said that we're moving the government. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
If you remove the government, you should pay them.
You should
But
pay them?
Holland got so much I think on top of the government. First thing they're going to say, they wasn't working on the road, they wasn't doing this, they wasn't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So that what made them remove the government.
But you think they should get paid?
I think so. If you remove the government, they should get paid. I think that.
Okay.
At least for the 4 years.
Okay, well, like I say, this is one judge's decision, yeah? So they can always go to a higher judge and appeal. maybe they get a different result in the next court.
But I think fighting the Dutch, you won't get the way.
Yeah.
You won't get the way. How is it? He's going to come, he's going to piss off some, so he's going to give, they're going to get the way.
Yeah. The system is there, you gotta go through the system. They have court and they have higher court and they have the highest court. So you gotta go through the system and you never know where you're gonna get your success.
Yeah, but every time you come court, it costs you money, you know.
No, but you want success, right?
But if I ain't walking away, we don't get money.
Well, you start the case, so if you start it, then you have to finish it.
Yeah, but my money done before the case done.
Well, go in the community and raise money. Crowdfunding. You ever hear about crowdfunding?
I hear about it.
Well, go on the internet and raise money. Everybody contribute $10 and you raise money to fight your case.
Yeah, but you see when the politicians there, they don't study some of the people there. So that's the problem now.
They don't study about the people?
No, the study is to friend them and this is that and other.
Well, so yeah.
So how you going to come ask you for $10 and when you're there you want buck 50?
Well, life is not a straight line, there's a lot of twists and turns, so there's a lot of different issues involved, but you have to know what you're going after and you go after what you want to achieve, no? So they know what they want to get and they go and fight for it until they get what they want.
Every politician is like all the time.
I'm hearing you too clear, so talk a little closer in the phone.
No, I think every politician is like.
Yeah?
The big promise that you're going to be a raise, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get in there, I can't be alone in a raise and it's not because of people here. But I'm going to see how much promise you're going to make now. You understand?
Yeah.
So you're going to power. If you're outside there, you got to go to Franco. Franco says, you agree with you? Nothing can happen.
Well, Franco's not forever, so Franco have to leave one of these days.
So when he leaves, somebody is going to come.
Okay.
So you're saying, okay, you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Then Franco leaves, Parliament will the next man here.
Well, we will wait and see.
Okay, then, right.
All right, thank you. Fix your phone, because you're not coming through too clear.
Yeah, my radio gone bad, man.
Okay, so I was talking about the road issue, and so the road is going to be a long-term matter, and also the caller mentioned about the road tax that we are paying. Yes, we're paying a lot of road tax, and it's painful, when you're driving over the roads with your vehicles, and to feel all the shocks that your car is having to endure on the roads. It's really horrible, and but what can we do? We've been complaining for years. In other parts of the world, people have serious demonstrations about these things. Look, in Chile this past week, where the government announced that the bus fares will go up, and that alone triggered millions of people to come out on the street, to protest the fact that the bus fares are going to go up a little bit. But here in Statia, we can't get folks out on the street to protest even more serious things. So even for the road situation, like we say, we've been talking about it for years and years, and the plans are there. The plans for the roads are there. We had consultants and engineering firms come in here and make lots of plans, complete plans for all the roads in Station. So the plans for the roads are there. It's just for the Dutch government to commit the monies to carry them out. Like I said, they give you all these things in piecemeal. They give you some today and some next 2 years, and 2 years after that another bit. So it's a long, ongoing project. But it is a serious need for the island, to get the roads fixed. I mean, I have a business, I rent cars, and I always have to apologize to my to my guests ahead of time on the state of the roads, you know. When you rent them a car, that's, well, I just want to take away their shock effect from them, that they know what to expect, you know, that the roads are not so good. So keep that in mind. So yeah, and it's not a good feeling to have to tell folks that all the time, but you have to let them know ahead of time, and especially when they want to go to certain places, they want to go to the botanical garden, for example, you know, it's a tourist spot to be promoted as a tourist destination, you know, and yeah, you go across there with your car, and yeah, I've had cars damaged in the back there more than once, you know, run on a big rock, and yeah, so it's, and then you can go to the government to claim anything. At least I never tried, I never heard anybody else tried, but government should be responsible and look at the animal problem, you know. So the question we need to ask is really, you know, why is it? But yeah, it becomes a rhetorical question now, because you don't really expect an answer on it, you know. Why is it, you know, that all these things cannot get settled and cannot get done? When Franco them came 2 years ago, they also say they would tackle the roaming animal problem, you know, and since then it looked like it's gotten even worse again. So what is the problem, you know, getting these, and these things are in the law. The laws are there, the rules and the regulations are there. In the police ordinance there are things against roaming animals, etc. But nobody seemed to be able to tackle it and do something about it. So 318-2722, folks, the number you can call, 318-2722. If you have questions, comments, or you have an issue you want to bring forward, or you can send me a message on 319-5453. So the Golden Rock Housing Project is kicked off, so hopefully, you know, that the tenants there would be happy with that project once completed. I know some time ago when I was in the government, there was also establishing a tenants association in place. I don't know if that is needed or useful. It should be useful some way or the other, also to give input into this renovation that is going on. So a tenants association was in the process of being set up. I don't think it was ever completed, the process, because again, so much changes in government at the time, changes in the board of the foundation, people going and coming, so everything just got stagnated. But I think a tenants association is still an important something to have, not only for Golden Rock. I read in the news report that there are over 90 something houses that the foundation is managing. I think is the houses in Golden Rock. I think they have like 75 or 77 houses in Golden Rock. But the foundation also has some houses up in Lodi. The social housing up in Lodi also fall under the housing foundation. The old Antillian View building, also they are busy renovating those apartments there. Yeah, and I think they also fall under the housing foundation. So I think it would be good, you know, to hear a little more from the housing foundation, what exactly all the plans are that they have, and also how much new homes will come out of this whole project, so that folks that need a house can at least look forward to something. I know they have a list of folks there registered waiting. So that is the social housing situation in Golden Rock. Again, nothing was mentioned about the sale of the houses. There's also been a lot of talk about that aspect of it. At least some people who are interested in buying the house that they're occupying now for quite a lot of years. Um, at least in this phase, there doesn't seem to be any plans, no concrete plans with respect to selling the homes in Golden Rock. Um, but perhaps that will come in a future phase. Like I say, the Woonlini from Holland, once they get more involved, I think a lot is going to happen, and probably a lot is going to change if they come and, enforce certain rules and demands on the housing foundation. So we have to keep an eye on that. And another important aspect is that there is no board at the housing foundation at this time. Yeah, and the housing foundation is a foundation, and it's based on its statutes, should have a board operating. And at this moment, there is no board. There's been a process to appoint a board, and that's been ongoing for years again, and under the previous government, and the courts were involved in it, and names were presented and were turned down, etc. But it's a foundation, and it needs to have a board, because right now everything is being decided by the people down in the guest house, and basically nobody else has no involvement, cannot give input. So what happens in the guest house and at the office of the housing foundation, but the general public is not aware of details of what is really going on and what they are agreeing to, and how they are involving the foundation in things, without a broader involvement of the community. When you have a board, you have people from the broader community as part of the board, and so they can give input, they can ask questions. Same thing we have with not having an elected island council. We do not hear what is going on. So that aspect of it also needs to be looked into, that a board needs to be established. And based on Knopf's plans for elections, elections will be held next year, he said, but the administration from the Dutch is going to remain in office probably for another year or 2 years, maybe longer. And all that time, they want to function in a way where they can decide everything without outside input. So something needs to change there. Okay, I just want to congratulate also the softball champions, the Thunders, who won the championship here this past week, coming in first place, 3-1 in the series of 5, and also the Spanish group, Los Tiburones, who came in second place as softball champions for this year. Let me say something about St. Martin in the meantime. Theo Heiliger has been in court, I think, 2 times this week. One case involved trying to bribe Member of Parliament Romain Laville to give up his seat in Parliament. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller.
Smitty, good
Yes,
afternoon.
good afternoon.
I noticed the first phase of the cliff of the fort has been almost finished.
Yes.
What about the second phase? You have any info pertaining to that?
Second phase. Well, I don't have specific information. I also drive down there and I see that since they put the matting on the north side of the cliff, I guess they are preparing the other side, because I see they are putting a lot of spikes in the cliff. So I guess the next phase will be that the matting will come on the other sides of the cliff as well. So I see the folks are still working there, so I expect that will happen pretty soon. I see most of the spikes seem that they are in the cliff already.
So, well, just in case you get some info for us, and then,
Okay.
when you're more informed, then give us some more info.
All right, thank you. Yes, so indeed I saw on the cliff there the matting on the north side, I think was put there maybe a month or more than a month ago. And since then I see that they're putting a lot of the spikes in the cliff, and then I guess the next set of matting will come on the seaside and then going around to the south side of the cliff. That is a project I think there's still a lot of work to do. That project is scheduled to be completed next year in March, so we'll still have about 6 months of work there to do. So after they put the matting on, yeah, don't know what is going to happen after that. When I call, see, we'll try to get some additional information on that project pertaining to the fort. Yeah, so Mr. Heiliger, some time ago they tried to bribe, when he was in opposition, he tried to bribe Mr. Romain Laville with money for him to give up his seat in Parliament. Well, he's now having to answer for that in court, and he's been in court also for a second case involving Dutch companies who paid him, according to the allegations, close to $4 million, to give these companies big contracts from the government there in St. Martin. So he's also have to answer to that. And in the first case, they're already asking for 12 months of jail time, 6 suspended, and 5 years suspending him from being able to run for politics, for political office. So heavy demands by the prosecutor there. And this past week we also see another St. Martin politician arrested, Mr. Christophe Emmanuel. He was also a minister some time ago. He and one of his assistants also accused in illegally giving out government land. So the parade of St. Martin politicians, going to court and being arrested continues. So after Theo Halliger and many others who came before him, now Christopher Emmanuel, Franz Richardson not so long ago, and who's next there in St. Martin situation. Well, back to Stacia, another news I read in the paper this week was the issue of Stinapa collecting large amounts of waste at Selandia Beach and also in the harbor area here, which is part of the global coastal cleanup. 60 kilograms of plastic and tires and other trash was collected. And of course this is a good initiative. This is something that is done, I think, every year, as I say, part of a international action that is done all over the world to clean up the coasts. But my question is, where is this trash that is being collected now on our shores in Selandia and the harbor? Where is that coming from? Is that trash from the island of Stacia, garbage from Stacia, or is it coming from somewhere else? I know years ago we had a problem of garbage washing into the sea there at the Selandia area when the landfill there was fully being used to dump all the garbage from the island. I don't think, that is not done anymore, at least to that extent, since we have the waste management facility. But I'm wondering if some of the garbage is still coming from the landfill area there or not, or is this garbage that is coming from elsewhere, from neighboring islands or from sea or from ships and washing ashore. Well, as the Stinapa said in the article, they hope that there comes a time where we don't have garbage to collect anymore. But I would hope, since we are not using that landfill anymore, that garbage is not still going into the sea from there. I know there are other illegal dumping areas for garbage in different parts of the island. Folks still going through garbage verbally in the middle of the night throw sacks of garbage in different locations, and yeah, some of that could still wash into the seas. So I think, we need to pay some attention to that, as we are, all over the world. We are talking about more cleanup of the waters and cleaning up of the oceans and the seas. We have the marine park here, where it's very important, that garbage does not get into the marine park area, where animals can get this stuff inside their system that can cause death. So I'm really interested in knowing, if STINAPA also tries to determine the origins of this waste material that they collect, and whether more, information needs to be given locally to folks on island, to prevent a lot of this garbage from going into the sea. From our sister island, Saba, an island council member, Mr. Ishmael Livingston, passed away this past week. Ishmael Livingston, a very colorful personality in Saba politics. Colorful personality, but most of the time you see him, he was dressed in white. That was his trademark color, dress. And he's been involved in Saba politics for many years. Leader last of the Saba Labour Party, passed away at the age of 79 years. And he's had some political success in the past, in those past 40 years. He was not there all the time. There were times he was out. I think before the last election that was held earlier this year, his party had 2 seats in the Saba Island Council, but in this election he lost both seats, so that the Whipham party now has all 5 seats in the Saba Island Council. So the Saba Island Council, paid tribute to him in a public meeting last Wednesday. I think that took place. And so Mr. Ishmael Livingston, was remembered for his contribution to the Saba community, and he's well known throughout the Netherlands Antilles, because he's been, as Island Council member, traveled throughout the Antilles and throughout the kingdom, and I guess elsewhere in that capacity. So he's well known in many parts of the kingdom, at least. So we also want to extend our condolences to his family and friends and relatives, and to the entire population of Saba for the loss of this Island Council member, who's contributed quite a lot over the years. I also want to mention the case of Emsley Trump, that is the former president of the Central Bank in Curacao and the Netherlands Antilles. He too went to court in this past week too. The High Court in Holland agreed, that he must collect 600,000 guilders to compensate for his legal fees. Trump's career, of course, was destroyed after leading the Bank of the Netherlands Antilles for 30 years or more by a prosecutor's office, that accused him of cheating on his taxes. And 2 lower courts decided, that the prosecutor's office was wrong in this, but the prosecutor's office kept appealing the case till it reached the High Court in The Hague. Eventually they retracted the High Court's case, but still the court decided, that Trump had to receive payment for damages that he suffered. Because, of course, besides this 600,000 is just to compensate him for his legal costs, but his entire career as a financial expert, has been destroyed just by the media attention alone to the case over the years, and this case is ongoing for many years now. And we've seen cases like this, not only in the Antilles but also in Holland, where the prosecutors, they accuse you, well, even with the arrests of politicians in St. Martin sometimes, they accuse you of all kinds of things without having the proper proof or evidence, but they pursue a case hoping to, as they go along, to get more evidence so that they can tie you up in something. And eventually the court says, well, you don't have the evidence, you don't have enough case, and so the case is thrown out. But in the meantime, the person's career is destroyed. And in the case of Trump, Trump has led the Netherlands Antilles Central Bank for many years, and he's done a good job there keeping the Antillean guilder strong, and managing the economy of the island, controlling inflation in the country and those kind of things. It's a tough job, and it's a very important job. And internationally, the Antilles, always remained on a high level where their financial system is concerned, and he is responsible for most of that over the past 30 plus years, and to bring down a man like that just on speculation and accusation, you cannot help but think, sometimes that there are indeed ulterior motives behind these kinds of actions, that there are other people behind these kind of actions pushing for this because they want to bring an individual down, they want to pull an individual down and destroy their career so that somebody else can get control of the office, of the position, of the institution. So Mr. Trump, his career is gone. He's at an age now where, he can just look forward, I think, to retirement. Not much he can start to do again, but at least this decision of the court is a vindication for him, that basically saying that he was done an injustice over these years by an over-ambitious prosecutor's office. And sometimes we have those over-ambitious prosecutors, who try to pull, blood out of stone, so to speak, just going after people, without having the proper evidence. And I know in Holland too, there's been several cases, similar cases, where these cases are promoted and in the media, and marketed as big, huge cases, huge victories for the prosecution, only for the judge to throw them out and say, you've not done your work properly, or you don't have the evidence to convict this man for what you're accusing him of. And this is something, notes bearing in mind, because not only prosecutors, but even in the case of our station government, there are lots of accusations that were made as to what the government was doing and what the government was guilty of, and up to now, there's not been really a lot of evidence in that direction. So it's bears paying attention to, when we see these kind of things happening. Folks, we have a few more minutes. 318-2722 is the number you can call if you want to make a call, give or comment, or you have an issue you want to bring forward. 318-2722 is the number, or you can call, or you can send me a text message on 319-5453. Well, some time ago we talked about the motion in the Dutch Parliament, where Mr. Van Dam of the CDA Okay, that was a motion pertaining to St. Martin. St. Martin wanting to take away the autonomy of St. Martin, and with the support of well over 100, two-thirds of the Dutch Parliament. And the issue, I mean, something similar, like what I talked about, over-ambitious prosecutors. You also have sometimes over-ambitious members of Parliament. And now you have a motion presented that gets over 100 out of the 150 members of Parliament to back this motion. But most of these members of Parliament, I'm sure they are not aware with the real situation in St. Martin. They are not acquainted with St. Martin. So you basically go on the word of one or two persons. Yeah, even Mr. Knops, the minister in charge, advised against accepting this motion. But Parliament still went ahead. Over 100 of them went ahead and supported about taking over law enforcement in St. Martin. You want to take over something and you're not even aware what it is you want to take over. The same situation we had with Stacia when the intervention was planned last year in February. It was a unanimous decision of the second chamber. Practically all 150 members voted in favor. And like I said, in the past, a lot of times when we here in the islands make complaints or tell them that certain things are not working in the islands, certain things are not good, well, and they don't listen to us. They don't listen to what we have to say unless somebody in Holland tell them the same thing, unless somebody in Holland proposes the same thing, then they will run and do that. But when we are complaining here, they don't hear us. Not that they don't listen, they just don't hear you. I talked last week about the Council of State that wrote a new report about the relationship between the three islands, Bonaire, Saba, Stacia, and Holland, and how the Council of State is proposing different measures, different things that should be done differently. A lot of them are things that we have been complaining about for years. But again, they don't hear us. But now that the Council of State tell them, yes, this you should do this, do the same things what the islands have been telling you for the last 10 years, suddenly the government say, well, yes, we're going to adopt these recommendations of the Council of State. Well, I guess that is what we have to endure, in this kind of relationship between a colonial power and colonies that are at a huge distance from the center of power. When the minister comes over once or twice a year, he brings back the news, and based on that, they carry out their actions. So the actions of the people and the voice of the people demanding change or complaining about certain situations, they just don't listen to you. I mean, if a village in Holland or a gemeente in Holland was complaining as much as we have been complaining for years about our roads, you think they would not have done something about roads there by now? So here we are 10 years, 15 years, 20 years complaining about roads, and they just don't hear you because you're too far away, you're not important enough, and so they just do whatever they want to do for you based on their schedule, their priority, and not based on yours. Of course, we have the added situation that there's more and more of their people come this side of the islands to live and to settle here, that their interest in the islands will grow and will increase. Okay, folks, That's going to do it for our program today. We want to thank all those who called in, and we invite you to tune in again next week, God's willing, when we'll have another program. I'm Glenn Schmidt, saying bye for now, until next time.